Imam al-Rida alayhi salam died. His son Imam AlJawad was only 7 years old. And he became the Imam at such a young age, a 7-year-old child. The Shia of Imam al-Rida, they were skeptical of Imam AlJawad. Is he really capable of being the Imam? Is he ready to be the Imam and he's only 7? Because the Imam is the leader of the Shia. He should have vast knowledge. Does this child have that knowledge? He should be able to lead us, guide us, help us, preach to us. So they were skeptical of the qualifications of Imam AlJawad because of his early age. In one tradition, a man by the name of Al-Khayzarani, he comes to Imam al-Rida and he asks him, if something happens to you, who do we go to? Who's your Khalifa? Who's the next Imam? The Imam said, he pointed to Imam AlJawad. He said, Waladi Abu Ja'far AlJawad. So this narrator, Khayzarani, he saw Imam AlJawad is like 6 or 7. If you die, he's your Khalifa. He's so young. So the Imam al-Rida, he knew, he felt that, he's thinking that he's too young. How can we follow him? Imam al-Rida alayhi salam told him, Inna Allah ba'atha Isa ibn Maryam نبيا ورسولا وصاحب رسالة وهو في عمر أصغر من ولدي الجواد. He said, do you accept Jesus was a prophet? Of course. He's mentioned in the Quran. How old was Jesus when he was sent as a prophet? How old? He was a few hours old. He was a baby in his crib. The Quran says when Maryam came with her baby, they asked her, who's this baby? Where did you bring him from? فأشارت إليه قالوا كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا. They told her, are you out of your mind? You want us to talk to a baby? She just pointed at him at his crib. Go talk to him and ask him. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave Isa as a baby. He gave him the ability to speak, and the Quran narrates what he said. قال إني عبد الله آتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا وجعلني مباركا أينما كنت. He said, I am the servant of Allah, the slave of Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent me as a messenger. That was a miracle. So Imam al-Rida tells this man that you believe in Isa. And Isa was a prophet when he was only a day old. So what's the problem with my son al-Jawad being an Imam while he's 7? It's the work of Allah. If it's the work of Allah, Allah can do anything. It's not difficult for Him. إِنَّمَا أَمْرُهُ إِذَا أَرَادَ شَيْئًا أَنْ يَقُولَ لَهُ كُنْ فَيَكُونَ. When Allah wants something, He just has to say be and it will be. So easy for Him. So Allah taught Imam AlJawad. He gave him that divine knowledge, al-ilm al-ladunni, that he became a qualified Imam at such an age. But yet the Shia were still skeptical. They weren't convinced. He's a child. This never happened before. All the other Imams, when they became Imams, they were much older. Now he's a 7-year-old kid. And children, what do? They're preoccupied with games. Now ask the kids, what do they know? They don't know anything but games. So they were still skeptical. Bahar al-Anwar, al-Shaykh al-Majlisi, he narrates a beautiful hadith. He says when Imam al-Rida died, the Shia gathered in a house. The prominent Shia, the dignitaries, the scholars. Amongst them was Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman that we mentioned a couple of weeks ago. One of the greatest scholars and narrators and students of Imam al-Rida. Amongst them was Safwan ibn Yahya. Amongst them was Abdul Rahman ibn al-Hajjaj. Amongst them was Ar-Rayyan ibn Salt. These are all the greatest scholars of that time. They gathered in a house and they had a Fatiha. They had, a commemoration for the departure of the Imam. They were crying and they began to say, who do we go back to now? Who do we have now? And then Yunus ibn Abdul Rahman, according to this hadith, he said, you know what? Let's stop crying because we have a bigger problem. Now we have no one to turn to. If we have questions, we need guidance. We no longer have an Imam because Imam AlJawad is so young. They didn't reject him. They just said we have to wait until he grows. At least 15, 20, maybe then we could follow him. So this is a big problem. What do we do until the Imam gets old? So they decided to go to the city of Al-Madinah. They went to the city of Al-Madinah. They went to the house of Imam al-Sadiq, who was still there. And unfortunately, the house of Imam al-Sadiq, this is between parentheses, was still intact in Medina up to a couple of decades ago, until Al Saud demolished it. The same house of Imam al-Sadiq you could find in Medina. It was, preserved until they demolished it, as they are demolishing Islam and everything in Islam until this day. So they went inside the house of Imam al-Sadiq to find someone, until that can cover for Imam AlJawad until he grows. Because the Imam al-Kadhim, remember, had many sons. And likewise, some of the sons of Imam al-Sadiq were still alive. So they sat in the house, and all of a sudden, who comes to them? One of the sons of Imam al-Kadhim by the name of Abdullah, the brother of Imam al-Rida and the uncle of Imam al-Jawad. He comes and he's an old man. Not old, but he's maybe in his 30s, 40s. He comes and he sits, and then one of the servants, he says, هذا ابن رسول الله فمن كانت عنده مسألة فليسأله. This is the son of Rasulullah. Whoever has a question, let him ask him. So basically implying that, you have someone. Don't despair, don't lose hope. He will be your imam for now, until Imam al-Jawad grows up. So one of them, now remember, these are all scholars, ulama. They themselves are maraja'. But because you had the imams overshadow them, we think, they were just narrators. No, if they were alive today, they would be all Ayatullah al-Uzma, scholars that had followers. But because they were overshadowed by Ahlul Bayt, we think of them as just being narrators. So they themselves are very smart, very knowledgeable. They know the ahkam. They've learned from Al-Rida, from Al-Kadhim. They have the ahadith of Al-Sadiq, Al-Baqir. They're all scholars and mujtahids themselves. So one of them stands and he begins to test Abdullah. Can he really answer? Does he have the knowledge of his grandparents? And they have ahadith of the earlier imams to ask them about. If his answer is the same as the answers of the other imams, then they know that he's knowledgeable. So they asked him a few questions, but some of the questions he would answer incorrectly. His answer was different than the answer of Imam al-Sadiq or Al-Baqir or Al-Rida or Al-Kadhim. So they said, wait a minute, no, he's not giving us the right answers because he's not an imam. So what do? We can't follow him. So they begin to despair. One of them says, let's just go back. We just have to wait until Imam al-Jawad grows up. All of a sudden, there's a door behind them. That door opens and someone calls out, come and see al-Jawad. Why did you guys forget about al-Jawad? Come and see him and test him if you're skeptical of his knowledge. So they entered that room, and all of a sudden they saw a 7-year-old boy with a shining face. He was wearing the imamah of his father, Al-Rida. And he was wearing the clothes of Imam Al-Rida, like a small scholar, but a young boy, imagine, 7-year-old boy. And he's sitting in such a humble way, but you can tell that he had hayba, he had an awe that strikes you. So then that person, he tells them, ask Imam al-Jawad. Yes, he's a young boy, but he has knowledge. Don't be fooled by his age. So that same man who asked the uncle of Imam al-Jawad, now he begins to test Imam al-Jawad. And to their surprise, every question they throw at him, right away he gives them the answer. And the answer is 100% identical to what they have in their books from Al-Baqir, Al-Sadiq and the other imams. They give him more difficult questions, he gives them the right answers. They look at each other, smiling, they're so happy. They say, he's not a child. He has knowledge more than all the other members of Ahlul Bayt. He's just like his father, Al-Rida. Only what? He's small, he's young. So after they're sure, they ask all the questions. They know he's qualified, he's ready, he has the knowledge. They hug him, they embrace him, and they give him the bay'ah. They tell him, you are our imam from now. And you see how beautifully Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam, at that age, he earned their respect. Don't think that, just because he was the son of Al-Rida, the Shia just followed him. No, the Shia would use their minds, their intellect. When the imams would tell them, follow someone, they made sure they would test that person. Only after seeing, experiencing his knowledge, they would follow that person. Amongst the sons of the imams was Ali ibn Ja'far. Ali ibn Ja'far was alive that day. He was the son of Imam al-Sadiq. So he's the uncle of Imam al-Rida. So he's the great uncle of Imam AlJawad, an old man with a long beard, white. And he was a scholar himself. He had written many of the ahadith of Imam al-Kadhim, his brother, until it was compiled in a book. You can find it now. It's called Masail Ali ibn Ja'far. Ali ibn Ja'far al-Uraydi, the son of Imam al-Sadiq. Ali ibn Ja'far was an old man. He was a scholar. But yet, he did not have the knowledge of Imam AlJawad at age 7. Even though he was probably in his 60s or 70s, Ali ibn Ja'far, even though he spent his entire life learning from his father As-Sadiq, from his brother Al-Kadhim, and from his nephew Ar-Ridha, but yet he did not have the knowledge of his great nephew, Al-Imam AlJawad. And in one story, Ali ibn Ja'far, remember, he was a scholar, he would teach. He was sitting in the masjid of Rasulullah in Medina, and he was teaching. All of a sudden, and he's an old man, Al-Imam AlJawad comes inside the majlis, and he's a young boy. He comes, just enters, and he's leaving. When Ali ibn Ja'far sees his great nephew, he quickly stands up and he rushes to him. Imagine you see like a marja' right now come. How you rush to that person. He rushed to him. He took his hand and he kissed it in front of everyone, showing his humility because he knew this was the rightful Imam. He kissed his hand and he showed him so much respect, as if Imam AlJawad is the old uncle and he's the nephew. But it's the other way around. So then the Imam, he told him, please uncle, go back, please, I don't want to disturb you. He said, no, while you're standing, I won't sit down. I'll wait for you until you leave. Look at the adab, the adab, the akhlaq, the ihtiram he had towards his nephew. And he was an old man that was revered in front of his people. Now, did that look good in front of his students? No, because can you imagine if an old man goes and kisses the hand of a 7-year-old boy in front of his students, and those students, they believe in him, and Ali ibn Ja'far. So when he went back, but yet he was a mu'min, Ali ibn Ja'far. He submitted to the will of Allah. He went back. His colleagues, his students, they began to scold him. They told him, what did you just do? This was so inappropriate. You went at such an age. You're old, and you're his uncle. You went and you kissed his hand. Why did you do that? They wanted him to feel guilty. What did he say? He said, be quiet, don't teach me. And then he held his beard like this. And he told him, what should I do if Allah Azza wa Jal did not find this beard to be qualified for the imamah, but yet he found that young child to be qualified? Basically, he's telling them, it's not up to me, it's the decision of Allah that He made him the imam. He's qualified, but not me. Even though, yes, I have this long beard and it's white, and I am a scholar, but my knowledge does not match the knowledge of Imam AlJawad alayhi salam. And that's why you find the Shia, when Ali ibn Ja'far was alive, and he himself was a great scholar, they followed AlJawad, and he was a 7-year-old boy, because they saw the knowledge, true, full, complete knowledge was there. So after this happened, after they tested Imam AlJawad, they began to be relieved. They began to believe in AlJawad, and their conviction became stronger. But their conviction became complete and full a few days after that. You see, Mamun al-Abbasi, the Khalifa of that time, we mentioned this when we spoke about Imam al-Ridha. He brought Imam al-Ridha from Medina, and he made him the crown prince. Bani al-Abbas were not happy at this. His family members and the rulers of Bani al-Abbas, the dynasty itself, the family, they weren't happy. Because remember, there was this feud between the sons of Abbas and the sons of Ali, Ahlul Bayt and Bani al-Abbas. So now you bring someone who's a rival, Imam al-Ridha, you put him in your government, crown prince. That means after Mamun dies, al-Ridha will be the Khalifa, and it will be the government of Bani Ali, not Bani al-Abbas anymore. They did not like it, but they had no say. When al-Ridha died and they were relieved, now Al-Mamun brought AlJawad, 7-year-old boy, and now he started to respect him and treat him, like someone important. Bani al-Abbas could not take it anymore. They told him, look, O Mamun, when you showed that respect to Al-Ridha and you brought him and you made him the crown prince, we complained, but you shut us up and we stayed quiet. But now you bring his 7-year-old boy and you want to do the same? Never will. And he's just a boy. That's what they said. He's just a boy that doesn't know anything. What's his value? Al-Ma'mun was smart, of course. Al-Ma'mun told them, he's a boy, yes, but he's not intelligent. He's not knowledgeable, no. Don't be fooled by his age, because he is a copy of his father, Ar-Ridha. He has the knowledge of his father, Ar-Ridha. But yet they said, what is he talking about? He's just a boy. So what did Ma'mun do to prove to them? He held a big majlis in his palace. He invited all the scholars, the dignitaries, the officials, and he had a formal majlis. He brought Imam AlJawad, he seated him next to him. He's 7 years old. And then he brought Yahya ibn Aktham. Yahya ibn Aktham was Qadi al-Qudat, the chief justice of the Abbasid Empire. He was one of the greatest scholars of his time, Yahya ibn Aktham. He brought him and he wanted to show to the people the knowledge of Imam AlJawad. So what did he do? He told Yahya ibn Aktham, prepare a difficult question for him. And it was kind of a tricky question. So Yahya ibn Aktham, he said, oh, this little boy, I'm going to just 10 seconds and it'll be over. He's just a boy. And I'm Yahya ibn Aktham, a scholar, old scholar. So everybody's listening. Yahya ibn Aktham looks at AlJawad and he tells him, I have a question for you. What's his goal? He wants to embarrass AlJawad. Imagine I call a 7-year-old boy, say, I want to ask you a fiqh question. What is he gonna say? Especially if it's a difficult fiqh question. He's gonna just stutter and give a silly answer or say, I don't know. Because kids, they don't know this stuff. They know games. That's all, pretty much. If I ask you about the games, yes, you'll tell me. But ask you about fiqh, I don't think so. So Yahya ibn Aktham asks him this question. ما تقول في محرم قتل صيدا. Give me the ruling of this mas'ala. What? If someone is in the state of ihram, he's doing hajj or umrah, and all of a sudden he kills an animal, he hunts and kills an animal, what's the ruling? Now, if any of you have been to hajj, you know that once you wear your ihram, there are 25 prohibited acts upon you. 25 things, just like when we fast, there's a few things we can't do. We can't eat, we can't drink, we can't smoke, we can't. When you go to Hajj, 25 things you can't do when you're in the state of ihram. One of those 25 is hunting, as-sayd. You're not allowed to hunt while you are in the state of ihram. Why? Well, obviously because when you're in the state of ihram, you're supposed to be peaceful. And even animals should be, feeling that peace. They shouldn't feel afraid. So that's why you're not allowed to hunt during those days that you're wearing the ihram. You're not allowed to do that. So Yahya ibn Aktham asks him about this question. He tells him, let's suppose that someone is in the state of ihram, but then he does hunt an animal and kills it. What is the ruling? What is the justification? Now, obviously, if it was any other boy, how did he know? It's kind of a technical question. I probably think if I ask you, 99% wouldn't know the answer. So a 7-year-old boy would know the answer to this? But this is Imam AlJawad alayhi salam, the son of Imam al-Ridha. Imam AlJawad gave a mesmerizing answer, an answer that remained for centuries. People would speak about it. Instead of the old man, the judge, Yahya ibn Aktham, embarrassing AlJawad, AlJawad embarrassed him. You know what Imam AlJawad said? Al-Imam began to give him different scenarios. It's like you ask him a yes or no question, he gives you a 5-page answer. And it's mind-boggling how much knowledge he gave you, and you just wanted a one-line answer from him. So Yahya ibn Aktham wanted a one-line answer, a one-liner. He got that 5-page answer. The Imam told him, and the Imam knew it right away. He didn't have to think. He told him it depends. Did the person do it intentionally or did he do it accidentally? If it's intentionally, he has to do this and this. If it's accidentally, he has to do this and this. Was it during day or was it during night? If it was during day, then the kafara is this. During night, the kafara is that. Was it during Hajj or was it during Umrah? If it's during Hajj, this is the kafara. If it's during Umrah, this is the kafara. Was he in the area of Haram? There's an area, inshallah, when you go to Hajj, you'll learn about it. It's called the Haram. It's bigger than Mecca. Was he in the haram or outside the haram? If he's in the haram, the kafara is this. If he's outside the haram, the kafara is that. Did he do it the first time or did he do it the second time? If he did it the first time, this is the kafara. The second time, this is the kafara. And the Imam went on and on and on and on until Yahya ibn Aktham was left speechless, dumbfounded. Are you serious? All this knowledge? I expected a one-liner and he gave me hundreds of scenarios. And some of the ahkam of Hajj that we have now, it's from this story. Because Imam AlJawad taught us this. If someone hunts, now alhamdulillah, this is not a problem. Nobody hunts now. Because now we have packaged food, processed food. Now we could easily transfer food because of, refrigerators and whatnot and communication. Easy, transferring cars. Back then, it's easy. You're in a desert, you're hungry. What do you eat? There's nothing. And imagine it's in the summer, it's hot, you can't store anything. So obviously you hunt. So that was a difficult question. So some of the laws of the kafara, the penalties of hunting came from the story itself. Everyone was left speechless. And they saw the knowledge of Imam AlJawad. Even though he was that young, he was more knowledgeable than Yahya ibn Aktham, who was the greatest judge and one of the greatest scholars of the Muslims. The Shia were so happy. They all had smiles on their face. This is our Imam. You mess with him, this is what he does to you. Ask him a question, he'll come back with 500 questions. And then Imam AlJawad asked him a question. He said, now it's my turn. And he asked him a very lengthy question. I don't think I'll have time to mention it. I think it's beautiful for you to read what the question of the Imam was. And Yahya ibn Aktham didn't know, had no clue what Imam AlJawad was speaking about. And then the Imam gave him the answer. So anyway, in this majlis of Mamun, the Shia saw the knowledge of Imam AlJawad. Because when do you really know a person is a true scholar? When he faces another scholar. Because a scholar can fool me, I'm an ignorant person. And he could, be an imposter. And he could fake being a scholar, being a fake sheikh, for example, a sheikh scholar, a fake Maulana. But could he fool another sheikh? Could he fool another scholar? No, because he's also a scholar. He knows how to evaluate others. So when they saw Imam AlJawad in front of Yahya ibn Aktham and that much knowledge, this is when they knew Imam AlJawad alayhi salam was the true Imam. And they began to embrace him and they began to follow him. All the Shia united after the Imam. And this incident, this phenomenon, the early Imam of Imam AlJawad, it served a great purpose. You know what is that? It served a great purpose in that it was fundamental to the Imamah of Imam al-Mahdi. There's a link between AlJawad and Mahdi. How? Imam AlJawad became Imam when he was 7. Imam al-Mahdi became Imam when he was how old? 5. The Imams knew that when Imam al-Mahdi will be born, when the Imam al-Mahdi will be the Khalifa, the Imam, basically, he'll only be 5. That's when his father died. Will the Shia accept? Will they not accept? They may be skeptical. But if they see the example of AlJawad, at age 7, he was able to prove himself that I am the most qualified, then obviously now they'll be more likely to accept Imam al-Mahdi. So it's like Imam AlJawad was helping Imam al-Mahdi, helping the Shia to accept Imam al-Mahdi. So that now when Imam al-Mahdi comes, they don't use the excuse of, oh, he's young. So what if he's young? We saw his grandfather AlJawad, and he was the most knowledgeable person at age 7. Let's say age 7, age 5. What's the difference? The point is, he's a small boy. And that's why one of the companions of AlJawad, he came to see him one day. He told him, أَيَكُونُ الْإِمَامِ ibn 7 سَنِينَ? Is it possible that the Imam is an Imam at age 7? Look at what the Imam told him. Al-Imam told him, نَعَمْ وَيَكُونْ ibn 5 سَنِينَ. He said, yes, and even 5 years. It's as if he's saying, wait. If you think 7 is young, wait until you see my grandson al-Mahdi. He will be the Imam. He will have my knowledge, but he will be even younger than me. He will be 5 years old. You know how much that helped the Shia? When Imam al-Askari died, and he said, before he died, that my son will be the Imam at 5. They couldn't use that excuse anymore. He's too young. Because they already used it against AlJawad and it failed. They saw his knowledge in front of everyone. The entire Muslim nation was speaking about that. So that's how beautifully Imam AlJawad alayhi salam helped in the process of accepting Imam al-Mahdi in that young age. So anyway, Imam AlJawad alayhi salam was one of the youngest Imams when he became the Imam. And he was the youngest Imam when he died. Out of all the Imams, the youngest one to die, to be martyred, was Imam AlJawad alayhi salam. How old was he? 25. Can you imagine? All these stories we hear, all this great legacy, and he died when he was 25 years old. Because the zalimeen, the oppressors, could not handle seeing Imam AlJawad alayhi salam. The Khalifa was Al-Mu'tasim. Mu'tasim hated Imam AlJawad. Al-Mu'tasim wanted to kill Imam AlJawad alayhi salam because he felt that inferiority. He knew Imam AlJawad was the Khalifa. Al-Mu'tasim كان آنذاك هو الخليفة. عمد لقتل الإمام الجواد عدة مرات لأنه كان يعلم أن محل الجواد من الخلافة محل القطب من الرحى كما قال أمير المؤمنين. فلذا كان قلبه مملوء من الحقد. حاول أن يقتل الإمام إلى أن رأى أفضل طريقة لقتل الإمام هي أن يدس إليه السم عبر زوجته أم الفضل. الإمام الجواد زوجته كانت أم الفضل بنت المأمون، لأن المأمون زوجه بنته أم الفضل، وولاؤها ما كان لأهل البيت، ولاؤها كان لبني العباس. فالمعتصم هكذا قتل الإمام الجواد، بعث إليها رسالة وحرضها على قتل الإمام الجواد لأنها من بني العباس هي. إلى أن استجابت ذلك. المعتصم, the Khalifa, sent a letter to the wife of Imam AlJawad. The wife of Imam AlJawad was the daughter of Al-Ma'mun. So obviously her allegiance is to Bani al-Abbas, not to Ahl al-Bayt. And he began to instigate her. He began to, provoke her and encouraging her to kill Imam AlJawad, telling her that if he becomes the Khalifa, Bani al-Abbas will be wiped out. He'll kill all of us. And obviously she is from Bani al-Abbas. She's the daughter of Al-Ma'mun. He encouraged her and encouraged her until she accepted. نعم. إلى أن كان يوم من الأيام الإمام الجواد عليه السلام كان صائما. جاءت بالسم ووضعته في إفطار الإمام الجواد. She took the poison and she placed it inside the food of Imam AlJawad while he was fasting. So she placed the iftar when it was sunset. She placed the iftar in front of Imam AlJawad عليه السلام. وضعت الطعام أمامه. تناول الإمام ذلك الطعام المسموم. بعد ذلك أحس بألم وقع على الأرض وكان الإمام يتحرك ويتقلب يمينا وشمالا من شدة الألم. The Imam fell to the ground. The poison began to hurt him. It was painful for the Imam. He would just roll on the floor. بقي الإمام عليه السلام في هذه الحالة. الإمام طلب من زوجته أم الفضل طلبا، قدم لها طلب، قال لها بصوت خفيف لأن الضعف بدأ يؤثر فيه، قال لها إن قتلتيني فاسقيني شيئا من الماء فإني عطشان. Now that you have killed me, he tells his wife after she gave them the poison, at least give me some water because I am thirsty. al-Fadl, look at her animosity. She saw her husband, he's on the floor, he's in pain, he's asking for water, but she told him no. And then she left the house and she left him all alone. انظروا إلى وجه الشبه بين الجواد عليه السلام وبين جده الحسين. الجواد في آخر أيامه، في آخر لحظاته، يطلب الماء ويرفض الماء ويموت عطشانا. ألا يذكركم ذلك بعطش الحسين عليه السلام؟ حيث يقول أرباب المقاتل أن الحسين عليه السلام في آخر لحظاته والدماء تجري من جسده الشريف مد يده وخاطبهم وقال وحق جدي رسول الله أنا عطشان فهلا إلى شربة من الماء سبيل. In those final moments of Imam Hussein's life when he was between the enemies, he made a request. He asked them, will anyone give me some water? For the sake of my grandfather Rasulullah, I am thirsty. But no one gave him water. Instead, one of the enemies told him, لا تذوق الماء حتى ترد الحامية أي نار nar Jahannam. You will never drink water until you go to the fires of Jahannam. And this is what happened to Imam AlJawad alayhi salam. He was left all alone. He was so thirsty. Al-ahadith تقول أن الإمام بقي في هذه الحالة يعالج سكرات الموت لمدة يوم وليلة، وهو يتقلب ويتألم من الوجع. في آخر لحظاته الإمام كان وحيدا، الإمام كان فريدا وهو يعالج الألم والوجع. أيضا هذا يذكرنا بالحسين عليه السلام، حيث كان يعالج سكرات الموت وهو مخضب بدمه في يوم عاشوراء. هل وجد ناصرا؟ هل وجد معينا؟ لم يجد الإمام الحسين عليه السلام غير السهام، لم يجد الإمام غير الأسنة والسيوف. نعم، صلت على جسم الحسين سيوفهم، فغدا لساجدة ضبا محرابا، ومضى لهيفا لم يجد غير القنا. أيوا حسيناه، ظلا ولا غير النجيع شرابا، ظمآن وحسيناه، ظمآن ذاب فؤاده من غلة، هي لو مست الصخر الأصم لذايا يا باء لهفي لجسمك في الصعيد مجردا، عريان تكسوه الدماء ثيابا. نعم، أزيدكم وجه آخر، وجه شبه بين الإمام الجواد عليه السلام وجده الإمام الحسين عليه السلام. نعم، يقولون أن الإمام الجواد بعد ذلك حينما رأى أن الموت قريب قد اقترب منه صعد إلى أعلى السطح، صعد إلى هناك، وفي آخر لحظاته رقمق بطرفه إلى السماء. ثم الإمام وقع على الأرض، غمض عينيه وأسبل يديه ومدد رجليه، ثم عرق جبينه وسكن أنينه، وفاضت روح الإمام الجواد. رحم الله من نادى وسيداه ومظلوماه ومسموماه. يقول أرباب المقاتل جسد الإمام الجواد بقي في ذلك 3 أيام لا يعرف به أحدا، لم يأتي إليه أي أحد ليدفنه ليكفنه ليشيعه. وهذا أيضا يذكرنا بجده الحسين عليه السلام، حيث بعد أن قتلوه بقي جسده الشريف 3 على رمضاء كربلاء بلا غسل ولا كفن. يا نازلين بكربلاء، هل عندكم خبر بقتلانا وما أعلامها؟ ما حال جثة ميت في أرضكم؟ بقيت 3 لا يزار مقامها، ما غسلوه ولا لفوه في كفن يوم الطفوف، ولا مدوا عليه رداء. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. Brothers and sisters, let us raise our hands and supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let us ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, to bless us, to enable us to follow in the footsteps of Ahlul Bayt, Imam AlJawad alayhi salam, Imam Al-Baqir, to learn from their teachings. And inshaAllah, we ask Him to grant us the ziyarah of Ahlul Bayt in this life and their shafa'ah in the next life.